Hey guys! Welcome to another video from the Learn by Listening channel. If you're not subscribed yet, make sure to subscribe now and hit the bell so you never miss any new content. Oh, and don't forget to hit that like button. Our goal for today is to reach 100 likes. That helps our community grow and motivates us to keep bringing amazing content to you. Can we do it? Now, let's talk about one of the most exciting and intense series that's taking the world by storm, The Last of Us. If you haven't seen it yet, get ready because this show will grab you from start to finish. And the best part is, you'll learn English while you're having fun. If you've already watched it, then get ready to enjoy the story even more with a fresh perspective, focused on learning English. The Last of Us is an adaptation of the famous video game, and it takes place in a post-apocalyptic world, where a mysterious infection has turned a large part of the population into monstrous and dangerous creatures. In the midst of all of this chaos, we have the protagonists Joel and Ellie. Joel, a man hardened by past tragedies, and Ellie, a teenager who holds the key to the salvation of humanity. Together, they face immense challenges and try to survive in a world where trust and hope are rare. But why are we talking about this series here on Learn by Listening? Because it's a fantastic opportunity for you to practice your English. When we watch shows like The Last of Us, we're doing much more than just listening to English. We're immersing ourselves in real-life context, with emotional dialogues and intense situations that teach us a lot about how the language is used in everyday life. For example, at the beginning of the series, the character Joel says, "You're not gonna scare me." This phrase may seem simple, but he uses the contracted form gonna, which is super common in spoken English, especially in informal settings. If you're not familiar with gonna, don't worry, because throughout the video, we'll dive deeper into these informal expressions that are super useful in real English. Anyway, The Last of Us is packed with phrases and expressions that will help you expand your vocabulary in a practical way. The coolest part is that by watching a show with such an engaging plot and deep characters, you end up learning English without even realizing it. The phrases are so impactful that they stick in your memory, and your understanding of the language will improve more and more as you continue watching. A great tip to make the most out of your experience learning English with The Last of Us is to watch the episodes entirely in English, with both dubbing and subtitles in English. This way, you'll start connecting what you hear with what's written, and that will help improve both your listening and reading comprehension at the same time. How about repeating the characters' lines? Try to imitate their pronunciation, tone of voice, and the emotion behind every word. This will help you improve your fluency and intonation in English. All of this will help you learn English in a much more fun and interesting way. Listening to English being spoken in real context, like intense conversations, is one of the most effective ways to improve your listening skills. Oh, and don't forget to check out extra content related to the series, like interviews with the creators and behind-the-scenes footage, because that can also help you improve your vocabulary and English understanding even more. Before we dive into the series analysis and start exploring some useful phrases and vocabulary for your learning, remember our goal? Let's hit 100 likes together to strengthen this learning community even more. If you're enjoying the content, don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and share it with friends who also want to improve their English. Let's go, because today's lesson is going to be amazing. The infection that turns humans into monstrous creatures is, in fact, one of the most terrifying features of The Last of Us. The origin of this pandemic in this series is a fungus known as cordyceps. In real life, this fungus is a parasite that affects insects, primarily ants and spiders, controlling their behavior and eventually killing them. When it infects an ant, for example, the fungus forces the ant to leave its colony and climb to the top of a plant, where the fungus spreads through its body, sprouting from its head and releasing spores to infect other ants. This behavior, controlled by the fungus, is an impressive evolutionary adaptation, though rather macabre. Now imagine if this cordyceps suffered a mutation, allowing it to infect humans. That's exactly what happened in The Last of Us. The infection that started with a fungal mutation rapidly spread across the world, turning most of the population into nightmarish creatures known as infected. These infected are divided into various stages, from the early ones known as runners, to the more advanced ones like clickers and bloaters, whose features become more monstrous over time. The victims of the infection lose control over their bodies and minds, becoming nothing more than puppets of the fungus, in a kind of zombie-like state that destroys everything in its path. The most frightening aspect of the infection is not just the physical appearance of the creatures, but the fact that the way the fungus spreads is very similar to the behavior of some real-life fungi, such as cordyceps, which already spreads impressively among insect populations. But in The Last of Us, what makes the fungus even more dangerous is its ability to affect the human species, leading to a global pandemic that threatens the survival of the planet. This creative approach of mutating the cordyceps fungus was one of the key elements that made the series stand out, exploring a more realistic and terrifying vision of the zombie apocalypse, something that goes beyond the typical fiction of a virus. Here, the threat is biological, with real roots in nature, but with an even more monstrous dimension when extrapolated to humanity. The world of The Last of Us is a brutal and relentless place, where nature has taken over and humans must fight for survival in a scenario of total devastation. The impact of this infection is profound in all aspects of society, and consequently, in the lives of the characters. The struggle against the infected is not just physical, but also psychological, as the survivors are no longer just victims of an external enemy. They also face their own fears, losses, and traumas brought on by the collapse of civilization. Let's talk about the characters now. Joel Miller. The first character we meet in The Last of Us is Joel, played by Pedro Pascal. Joel is a man hardened by the tragedies he's lived through, especially the loss of his daughter, Sarah, at the beginning of the pandemic. This loss, which occurred early in the outbreak when the infection was just beginning to spread, shapes Joel's personality, turning him into a cynical, distrustful person with a cold view of the world. He distances himself from any emotional attachment and becomes a smuggler, trying to survive as the world collapses around him. Over time, as he bonds with Ellie, Joel starts to regain some of his humanity, developing a deep connection with her. Their relationship transforms into one of the most touching and complex ones in the series, showing that despite the desolation of the world they live in, there is still room for love and protection. Joel faces immense challenges throughout their journey, risking his life to protect Ellie, his daughter, by choice. Ellie Williams. The main character of the plot, Ellie, is played by Bella Ramsey, and her story is essential to the future of humanity. Ellie was born after the pandemic started, and unlike most people, she's immune to the infection. This immunity makes her the key to possibly finding a cure for the disease that has destroyed civilization. Putting her at the center of the story, Ellie is not your average teenager. She grew up in a post-apocalyptic world, facing challenges much harsher than what most teens in our world would face, which makes her a mature, strong, and resilient figure. Her personality is both complex and endearing, and over the course of the series, we see her develop and form a unique bond with Joel, a kind of paternal relationship where Joel acts as a protector and Ellie as a surrogate daughter. Tommy Miller, played by Gabriel Luna. Tommy is Joel's younger brother and one of the key characters in the story's development. A former member of the Fireflies, a rebel group fighting for freedom and seeking a cure for the infection, Tommy finds a new path when he takes refuge in Jackson, Wyoming, where, with the help of his wife Maria, he builds a safe community. While Tommy lives a quieter life compared to his brother, he too faces moral dilemmas about what's right and wrong in a crumbling world. His relationship with Joel, though one of love and familial care, is marked by tensions, particularly regarding the choices they made in the past. Throughout the journey, Tommy becomes a crucial figure, providing support and shelter when necessary for Joel and Ellie. Marlene, she is the leader of the Fireflies, a group of resistance fighters who seek to restore order and find a cure for the infection. She plays a central role in the plot, as she is the one who entrusts Ellie to Joel's care to protect her and help fulfill the mission of finding a cure. Marlene has a personal connection with Ellie, and her actions are driven by a mix of love and a deep sense of responsibility that goes beyond her own safety. Tess, played by Anna Torv, Tess is Joel's business partner and a loyal ally. She shares Joel's life as a smuggler and proves to be a strong, capable woman with a sharp survival instinct. Tess helps Joel navigate dangerous situations and becomes a vital ally at the beginning of the journey, aiding them in getting Ellie to safety. Her loyalty to Joel is unquestionable. These characters, with their interconnected stories and complex relationships, are fundamental to the plot of The Last of Us, as they make us reflect on what it means to fight for survival, love, and sacrifice in a world where humanity is being wiped out, and where every action could be the difference between life and death. After exploring the universe of The Last of Us, with its deep characters, apocalyptic settings, and the amazing dynamics of the fungal infection, it's time to reflect on how we can take advantage of all of this to learn English in a fun, effective, and emotionally engaging way. After all, learning a new language should be an experience that involves and captivates you, and there's no better way than using the content you already love to improve your skills. What makes The Last of Us such a powerful tool for learning English is how it brings a rich vocabulary, everyday expressions, and even slang that are used in intense and emotional situations. Whether you're just starting to learn English or already have some fluency, The Last of Us can be an excellent source of learning. Here are a few ways you can study: listening and repeating. One of the most effective ways to learn English is to pay attention to the characters' lines and try to repeat them. Don't worry about being perfect. The goal is to imitate the rhythm, intonation, and pronunciation of the words. Repeating these phrases will not only improve your pronunciation, but also help you get used to the more informal forms of the language, such as using gonna instead of going to, which is super common in spoken English. Study expressions and slang. Each episode of The Last of Us is filled with slang and expressions you can incorporate into your vocabulary. These little expressions will help you better understand spoken English in daily life, as you'll be immersed in dialogues used by real people in high-stress situations. This is an excellent way to learn how the language is actually used. Don't forget to use subtitles to reinforce your learning. If you're watching this series in English, a great tip is to enable subtitles in English as well. This will allow you to associate what you're hearing with what you're reading, which greatly helps in memorizing new words and phrases. For example, when you hear Ellie say, "This is going to be a long journey," you not only learn a new word, but you also learn how it naturally fits into a conversation. Focus on different accents and variations of English. One interesting aspect of The Last of Us is the diversity of accents and ways of speaking. Joel, being from Texas, has a particular accent that differs from other characters like Ellie, who speaks more directly and with less softness. Pay attention to these variations, as learning to understand different English accents is a big challenge for language learners. Always review. As you progress through the series, go back to earlier scenes and review the phrases and expressions you learned. This helps reinforce your learning and improves your retention. Additionally, if you can, take notes while watching the series, writing down words or phrases you find interesting or new to your vocabulary. This creates an even stronger connection between what you've heard and what you've learned. So, if you're ready to improve your English while enjoying one of the best series out there, how about starting to watch The Last of Us right now? And remember, the key to success in language learning is consistency. So keep listening, keep learning, and keep growing in English.